"How could you do this to me?" I shouted, my body shaking uncontrollably. I had just walked in on my husband of 8 years, Carter, embracing his mistress Annalise in our bedroom. Our wedding photo lay shattered on the floor next to them. Carter didn't even flinch. "Lila, calm down. This isn't what you think," he said coldly. "Don't you dare tell me to calm down." I screamed, "Get out, both of you." Annalise smirked, draping herself over Carter. "Come on, baby. I think we've overstayed our welcome." Carter shrugged. "I was going to wait to tell you, but I guess now is as good a time as any. Annalise and I are in love. I'm leaving you, Lila." His words winded me. I steadied myself against the doorframe, feeling lightheaded. "You can't be serious," I stammered. "We're married. We have a life together." Carter laughed cruelly. "A life that bored me to death. Do you know how tedious it was listening to you go on about your job every day? Annalise actually understands me." Annalise tilted her head. "Aw, poor baby. Well, now you have me to keep you entertained," she purred before pressing her glossy lips to his. Hot, angry tears streamed down my face as I watched them kiss. "Get out!" I bellowed. "Get out before I call the police." Carter sighed, clearly irritated. "For what, Lila?" "This is my house too, but fine, we'll leave. I'll be by next week to grab my stuff." They headed for the bedroom door, but Annalise paused, turning back to me. "Oh, by the way," she said, venom in her tone, "you might want to call your lawyer. Carter is filing for divorce first thing tomorrow." Carter smirked over his shoulder as they sauntered out of the bedroom, leaving me broken on the floor, surrounded by shards of glass. I don't know how long I lay there, struggling to breathe through guttural sobs. When I finally managed to pull myself up, my legs shook and gave out. Gripping the edge of my dresser, I stared into the mirror, not recognizing my own reflection, a broken, tear-stained woman staring back at me. In our closet, half of Carter's things were already gone. In the kitchen, I noticed my favorite mixer missing, along with the expensive blender we had gotten as a wedding gift. That blender was an early anniversary present for his mistress. The reality finally set in. Carter had been preparing to leave me for who knows how long behind my back. He had meticulously pilfered our shared accounts and belongings to build a new life with Annalise. I thought back to our anniversary dinner last week. He had acted so lovingly, toasting to spending our lives together. And yet he was sleeping with another woman. Bile rose in my throat as the weight of Carter's lies and manipulations overwhelmed me. I sank to my knees, my body racked with pain and anger. He had taken everything from me, but I wouldn't let him get away with it. Wiping my eyes, I set my jaw firmly. If Carter wanted to go to war, I would be ready and waiting for him. This was far from over. I barely slept, Carter's words echoing in my mind. How could I not have seen this coming? The signs must have been there. I racked my brain, thinking back over the last few months. Lately, Carter had been working late more frequently and was glued to his phone. He'd also become more distant emotionally. I had brushed it off, assuming his promotion was responsible. But now things were starting to add up. The secret phone calls, his sly smiles when texting, all those random business trips. The next morning, I called out of work. I couldn't face my colleagues like this. Instead, I started gathering papers, digging for any clues about Carter's deceit. In our home office, I rifled through his desk. Most of the drawers were empty except for one, locked, of course. I grabbed a bobby pin and picked it open easily. Maybe those YouTube tutorials would come in handy, after all. Inside, I found bank statements and piles of paperwork. My hands shook as I flipped through them. Mortgage paperwork showing Carter had recently refinanced our home, removing my name completely without my knowledge. Investment accounts that I knew nothing about. Credit card bills for jewelry purchases that I had never seen. As I dug deeper, the betrayal sharpened. Carter had been siphoning away our savings and assets for months. He had removed me as beneficiary on his work benefits and life insurance. That explained why he had been insisting I focus my savings on my own retirement accounts lately. I dumped the entire contents of the drawer onto the floor in anger. How could I not have noticed what he was doing right under my nose? I had trusted this man unconditionally. Just then, my phone buzzed from an unrecognized number. I answered hesitantly. "Well, hello there, wifey." Annalise purred mockingly. "I just wanted to say thanks for the presents. This new necklace is just stunning." My blood ran cold. I gritted my teeth. Haven't you done enough damage already? Annalise cackled. Oh, but this is just too fun, Lila. Did you really think a boring old hag like you could keep a man like Carter satisfied? You were nothing but a placeholder until he met me. I trembled in anger as she continued taunting me. That audacious woman had the gall to call just to twist the knife further into my back. As Annalise prattled on smugly about the romantic getaway her and Carter were apparently leaving for tomorrow, a tidal wave of rage washed over me. I would make sure Annalise regretted the day she ever heard my name. And Carter? Before I was done with him, he'd be begging for mercy. Over the next few days, I barely ate or slept. I'd spend hours scrolling through photos of Carter and me, wondering when it had all gone wrong. My eyes burned from crying, my head pounded from anger. The emotional distress quickly took its toll physically. One morning, a sharp pain ripped through my chest, causing me to double over. I could hardly breathe. My vision started to blur as I sank down against the hallway wall, fumbling for my phone. I vaguely remember the EMTs arriving, strapping an oxygen mask to my face as I struggled for air. Carter must have been listed as my emergency contact because soon I heard his voice bellowing nearby. What the hell happened? Carter snapped at the EMT, feigning concern masterfully. Exacerbation of underlying stress disorders, she replied calmly. Her system is essentially in overdrive. I wanted to laugh. Stress disorders caused by Carter's betrayal, no doubt. Instead, I slipped out of consciousness, Carter's false sympathies ringing in my ears. When I came to, soft beeps and sterile air greeted me. Carter sat at my bedside, his eyes full of manufactured worry. Oh, thank God, he cried, grasping my hand. His fingertips were ice cold. I was so scared, Lila. Are you feeling any better? I pulled my hand away, repulsed by his touch. Like you actually care, I rasped. Carter sighed. Come on, Lila. Regardless of what's happening between us, you know I don't want to see you suffer. Don't pretend you actually give a damn about me or my suffering, I hissed. You lost the right to play the caring husband when you betrayed our marriage. Carter shook his head. I never meant to hurt you like this. I just couldn't keep living a lie. What Annalise and I have is real. Can't you understand that? His words lit my blood on fire. The only thing I understand is how delusional you are. That woman is using you, Carter. Once she bleeds your bank accounts dry, you'll come crawling back. Anger flashed in his eyes at the mention of money. For a second, the monster behind his polished veneer shone through. Just as quickly, he reverted back to the doting husband routine. Let's not argue now, dear, he said gently. For now, just focus on recovering your strength. I glared at him in disgust. Even on my deathbed, this man would pretend to care while destroying me behind my back. After 2 harrowing days in the hospital, I was discharged and sent home to rest and recuperate with a cocktail of medications, as if rest was possible now. I stood numbly in the entryway of our once-shared home, now marred by the ghosts of Carter's betrayal. In the living room, our wedding portrait still lay shattered on the floor, the pieces swept into an empty frame. Wandering through each room, more missing items taunted me. The antique vase gifted by my late grandmother, our custom Sinatra vinyl records, the breathtaking canvas art piece we had bought on our 5th anniversary trip to Santorini. Carter had slowly drained the soul of our home along with my savings. Anything of remote monetary or sentimental value to me had been liquidated to fund his new life. My blood boiled, realizing the extent of his duplicity. Not only had he robbed me of my trust, but now he was pilfering my past to build a future with another woman. In the kitchen, an empty bottle of wine beckoned. I had never been much of a drinker, but the numbing effects sounded appealing now. As I poured burgundy solace into my glass, my cell phone buzzed loudly on the counter. It was a text from Carter's sister Olivia, whom I had always been close with. Lila, I'm so very sorry about all this. Please call me. I sank onto a bar stool, intrigued that she had reached out. Olivia and Carter were incredibly close. She undoubtedly knew more about his secrets than anyone else. My mind raced with possibilities as I dialed her back. Lila, she answered anxiously. I've been sick over what Carter has done. Are you all right? I sighed. Honestly, Olivia, I don't think I've ever felt worse in my life. This betrayal has completely blindsided me. Olivia paused before asking quietly, "Yes, when did you first notice things were off with Carter?" Her question gave me pause. Looking back, small changes started a few months ago, working late more often, guarding his phone. But it wasn't until... Suddenly my wine glass slipped from my hands, shattering on the floor as realization crashed over me. Olivia kept calling my name as understanding hit me like a freight train. Carter's pivot coincided precisely with Annalise starting at his company 4 months ago. He had used my hospitalization to move things out undetected. This entire charade had clearly been orchestrated as part of his meticulous exit strategy. Rage flooded my veins. The man had the audacity to watch me unravel at his hands while secretly plotting his escape. He needed to pay for his cruelty. When Olivia finally got my attention again, I had one simple statement. "I think I need a lawyer, Liv." A very good one. "Mrs. Jennings, I know this is an incredibly difficult situation, but with the evidence we've uncovered, your case against Carter is extremely strong," my lawyer Leah assured me. I had taken Olivia's advice and hired the best shark attorney money could buy. Over the past few weeks, Leah's team of ruthless investigators had dug up dirt on Carter that even I couldn't believe. Under-the-table deals with vendors to pad his commissions, fake expense reports to embezzle company funds, all to bankroll his lavish tryst with Annalise, expensive vacations, a new luxury vehicle, even a down payment on a summer home. It made me sick knowing my husband was not only a cheater but a thief too. "So what now?" I asked Leah, struggling to rein in my boiling anger. "You just wave this evidence around in court?" Leah gave a sly smile. "Oh, the courts will have their day, but first, I was thinking we bring this information to Carter's company. These records indicate significant fraud. They'll have no choice but to open an investigation, which means..." "He'll be fired," I finished slowly, realization dawning. Destroying Carter's career and reputation was an appetizing start, but termination alone wasn't enough to satisfy my hunger for retribution. I wanted to devastate him emotionally and financially, completely raze the cushy new existence he had built from my ashes. "I also have spies tracking the Lovebirds' travel plans," Leah added. "I believe they are taking a week-long company leadership retreat together next month in Miami." My lips pulled into a wicked smile. It was all falling into place, the opportunity for public confrontation I had been craving. Carter always bragged about being a rising star at his job. I would take immense pleasure in watching his meteoric career crash and burn. "Leah, arrange the meeting with Carter's executives. It's time he learns exactly who he is dealing with," I stated defiantly. 1 month later, I found myself pacing outside the conference room at Carter's elite corporate retreat in Miami. Through the glass walls, I could see Carter inside schmoozing the room, so blissfully oblivious about the bomb I was about to drop. Right on cue, Leah and Carter's full executive team filed into the room. Carter's smiling face morphed into confusion and then panic. "What's going on?" he stammered. "Why are you all here?" Leah gave a saccharine smile. "Well, Carter, it seems there have been some financial irregularities discovered and quite a few questions needing answers. Lila here has offered to provide some clarity." Carter's terror-filled eyes found mine. I crossed my arms, tilting my head. "My dear husband," I began coolly, "how about we have a little chat about your secret bank account in the Caymans?" The color drained from his already pale face. "Gotcha." Carter staggered backwards, bracing himself against the conference room table as I stared daggers into him. The executives glanced between us, shocked. "Lila, what are you doing?" Carter shouted. "Have you lost your mind?" I scoffed. "Oh no, dear. In fact, I'm seeing things more clearly than ever." I strode towards Carter's bosses, dropping a thick file folder on the table. This contains financial records, statements from vendors and partners, expense reports, evidence of Carter flagrantly abusing his executive power here to fund his personal endeavors. The executives rifled through the papers, their eyes widening. "These are extremely serious allegations," the CEO muttered. Carter slammed his fist down. "It's all lies. I've done nothing wrong. She's clearly become unhinged." I laughed coldly. "Time to twist the knife deeper. We both know that's not true, Carter. This investigation will reveal it all. The offshore accounts, the fraudulent business deals, even using company resources to jet off with your mistress." "What mistress?" the female VP interrupted, glaring at Carter. "Why, his new flame Annalise, who conveniently works in marketing here," I replied. Right on cue, Annalise strode into the conference room. "Carter, have you seen my—" she started before gasping. What's going on here? The executives all turned towards Annalise. It seems we need to open an ethics investigation immediately, the CEO said. HR will be contacting you, miss. Peterson, Annalise stammered weakly, her doe eyes finding Carter. The room was dead silent, save for the tapping of texts and emails from the executives. Carter stood motionless, the flames of his world burning down around him thanks to the lighter fluid I had generously provided. Finally, the CEO looked up grimly. Carter, because of the sensitive nature of these allegations and your senior status, I'm afraid we need to place you on a leave of absence pending a formal investigation. Carter's head whipped toward me, face purple with rage. You evil, soulless witch, he seethed. You'll pay for this. I swear it. I stepped close so only he could hear my whispered reply. The only thing I'll pay for is the champagne I'm drinking when your precious career and reputation lay in ashes. You stole my past, Carter. Consider this me stealing your future. With that, I spun on my heels triumphantly, walking away to the sound of Carter's world collapsing behind me. My hands trembled as I straightened my skirt suit and took a deep breath. This was it. Today I faced off against my deceitful, backstabbing excuse of an ex in court. While Leah had assured me our case was a slam dunk, I was anxious to finally see Carter humiliated and defeated. The fantasy had sustained me through many sleepless nights since Miami. At the defense table, Carter sat with his new attorney, an overpriced hotshot surely blowing through what was left of Carter's savings. I almost felt sorry for the guy. Carter was too arrogant to see that I held all the cards now. Once seated, I exhaled slowly, steadying my nerves before raising my eyes to meet Carter's. His handsome face was strained with dark bags under his dull blue eyes. Clearly, the investigation and scandal had taken their toll. Good, I thought. Let him suffer. The bailiff called court into session, and the judge entered, adjusting his glasses as he reviewed our case file. Carter's fraud, my hospitalization, the affair, it was all laid bare before this stranger. All right, the judge began wearily. As this concerns both the impending divorce and alleged misconduct at Mr. Jennings' employer, I suppose we'll address both. Shall we start with the financial disputes? For the next hour, Leah efficiently presented our evidence, bank statements, titles, deeds, invoices, all damning proof of Carter's lies and thievery. Meanwhile, Carter's lawyer stumbled over weak counter-arguments. Finally, Leah motioned to me. Showtime. I took the stand, recounting my hospitalization and Carter cruelly using it to dismantle our finances. He stripped away my security, professional, emotional, and financial, all to support his mistress. I asserted, my voice trembling. As I spoke, tears shining in my eyes, the judge's frown towards Carter deepened. Got him. When Carter's lawyer finally had a chance to question me, he floundered. Because how do you paint someone as unreliable when the facts so clearly support her words? Eventually, he turned to Carter, defeat in his eyes. Your Honor, I believe we are prepared to discuss settlement. My pulse raced as we took a recess. Leah and I huddled in the hall, while Carter and his counsel whispered desperately just feet away. I strained to hear but could only make out, guess, accounts, travel, assets. After an agonizing 20 minutes, we reconvened. Carter looked utterly deflated as he agreed to almost every divorce condition I had outlined. 70-30 split of all marital assets and investments in my favor. Half of the proceeds from the sale of our home. 25% of Carter's salary and bonuses for the next 7 years. I smiled, satisfied, as Carter essentially handed me the keys to rebuild my financial future. The judge banged his gavel, granting the divorce while admonishing Carter for his deceit. My now ex-husband refused to even glance my way. Congratulations, Lila, Leah grinned as we packed up. You are now a single, very wealthy lady due to your cheating ex-husband's penance payment. I shook my head, sighing with relief. I'm just free, finally free from Carter and his web of lies. It's almost poetic. As I add the final strokes of paint to my newly purchased beach cottage walls, Carter's demise plays out online and on Gossip TV. After the trial, the company axed their in-depth investigation, and Carter soon found himself both unemployed and unemployable thanks to my social media whistleblowing. Last I heard, investors pulled out of deals with Annalise when she was splashed across the tabloids as Carter's mistress. She kicked him out soon after. Without his money and status, Carter's shiny lure had dulled. As I finish laying plastic sheeting across the floor, my cell dings. Olivia's bright face pops up with a new link to Carter's latest troubles. Seems a reporter dug up lawsuits from an ex over Carter's past cheating and fraud. My, leopards really don't change their spots. I smirk as I change into paint-splattered leggings and one of Carter's old work shirts. Time to purge the last vestiges of my scorched past by torching it with light, airy colors. An unfamiliar warmth blooms through my chest as I make sweeping strokes across the walls. Is that delight? Joy? Who knew home renovations could be so cathartic? Over the next few weeks, trips to thrift and antique shops uncover small treasures, each find reviving my weary soul bit by bit. An ornate lantern here, an antique lamp there. Anything too reminiscent of that cold mansion I used to inhabit gets donated or tossed. Slowly but surely, the cozy bungalow morphs into a reflection of me. Light and relaxed, yet full of history. It even has a little extra room should I ever take in a furry companion. I always wanted a dog, but Carter hated pets. As I step back one warm evening to admire the finished product, joyful tears prick my eyes. This lovely little home is all mine. I earned it, I created it, and I will fill it with adventures, friends, and maybe one day, someone new to share it with. But for now, I will relish living life by my rules. A notification pulls me from my reverie, an email from my boss congratulating me on a big promotion I had interviewed for last month. I clap excitedly. Finally, some positive professional momentum. Grabbing a bottle of wine I'd been saving, I pour a tall glass, toasting my echoey walls. Here's to fixing missteps and fresh starts, I proclaim, giggling at the strangeness of talking out loud to myself. Later, as I cuddle on the porch swing with a blanket and trashy novel, I sigh contentedly for the first time in ages. My skin prickles, sensing Carter's absence. While he used to consume my nightmares, now I hardly spare him a passing thought. Staring up at the inky, star-speckled sky, I smile softly. The fiery storm Carter left me in ashes from has passed. Now here I sit, older and wiser, peacefully plotting the possibilities my newly reclaimed future holds, thanks to karma catching up with my wicked ex at last.